Hi there, everyone. This is Dr. Gwen from the Dr. Gwen International, Inc. And today we have on our webinar, Nesreen Kashan. And Nesreen is a data dissemination specialist with the U.S. Census Bureau. I actually sat in a training that she conducted live, and I was completely blown away, just awed by the level of research that's available out there for business owners. And I know you, my friends, have a need to find your ideal clients and your ideal customers. And so Nesreen has graciously agreed to bring you this training that's going to help you fine-tune your data search and find the people that you need to help you skyrocket your business profits and success. So at this time, I'm going to turn it over to Nesreen, and I'm going to chime out. Nesreen?
Thank you for that introduction, Dr. Gwen. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar. So I'm going to give you a slide deck overview of Census Business Builder, both the small business and regional analyst editions. And then we're going to go live on census.gov, and I'll give you sort of more of a general overview of our website and some places you go to get the data you need to inform your small business decisions. So during today's slideshow, I'm going to give you a quick overview of the Census Business Builder. I'm going to use screenshots to share some of the varying features of both the small business and regional analyst editions. So the slides are intended to give you something to refer back to, as well as something to be able to conceptualize when you are introduced to these apps, and then with you at the conclusion of the webinar. Excuse me, the Census Business Builder is a suite of services that provide selected demographic and economic data from the Census Bureau tailored to specific types of users in a simple to access and use format. This small business edition is built primarily for small business owners who need key data for their business plan or to better understand their potential market. It presents data for a single type of business and geography at a time. The Regional Analyst Edition is built for chambers of commerce and regional planning staff who need a broad portrait of the people and businesses in their service area. It presents data for all sectors of the economy and for a user-defined region made up of one or more areas. So why Census Business Builder? Well, at the Census Bureau, we've done a great job of serving our power users in the past. Our power users tend to be knowledgeable about Census Bureau programs, are statistically savvy, and they're very patient with navigating our website. What we haven't done is serve more entry-level users well, but we're beginning to see a shift in this focus with changes to our tools that emphasize getting the data you need fast without requiring you to have knowledge of all the different program areas they're sourced from. So Census Business Builder is actually an iterative web app. It's currently on version 2.2, and it is basically a mashup of data from different sources from throughout the Census Bureau across the demographic, population, and economic directorates. As I stated in the previous slide, you don't need to know that when you use the app. All you need to know is how to click a few buttons to get the data that you need. But I certainly want to at least make you aware of where the data are sourced from. The demographic data are from primarily from the American Community Survey. This is an annual survey we conduct. The survey goes out to about 300,000 households every month in every year. And the data are released every year, every fall. So we also have county business patterns that provides you data about employers and employee payrolls. We have non-employer statistics, which are basically data about any employer that does not hire employees. So if you hire employees, you'll get your data from county business. If you even have one employee, your data will be in county business patterns. If you're a one-person show handyman or accountant or IT professional, whatever the case may be, your data would show up in non-employer statistics. Economic census is a census we conduct every 2 years. It ends in 2 and 7. And that data mirrors some of what you get from the annual county business patterns, but it's more robust. It has data on total receipts and other measures that you only get from the economic census. And then we have survey of business owners, also released every year, that ends in 2 and 7. So that data will tell you the race, gender, veteran status of small business owners rather. And then we have our international trade statistics, imports and exports, updated fairly frequently, definitely on a yearly basis. So we also have in the Census Business Builder 2.2 edition, the Census of Agriculture. So that's data on animal and crop production. That data is actually collected by the USDA. We used to collect this data, but the USDA took it over in the 90s. And then we finally have consumer spending data from ESRI. And what's really cool about this is it includes up to 14 categories. So it's not just consumer spending, but it's at a specific level, such as dining out, entertainment and recreational travel, and healthcare. And that's also updated annually. And then I want to quickly note that the ESRI data are usually, because ESRI is a for-profit, is a private sector, it's usually something that would be something you would pay for, but accessing it from our portal, it's absolutely free. So this is how you get to Census Business Builder. You go to the main page of the Census Bureau. The homepage is census.gov. And when you're on census.gov, you want to click Data on the Data tab, and that will expand this box. It's Data Tools and Apps is what you want to click next. And the box, when it pops open, you'll see some apps already preloaded in the screen. You'll want to select the second from the top on the left-hand side, Census Business Builder. Here's the direct URL to the homepage of Census Business Builder, but you can also just follow the steps I indicated. So there's everything that you need to get started is contained in the homepage of Census Business Builder. There's a very friendly video that gives you a nice introduction to the app and what you can do with it that I would encourage you to watch first. Right away, you'll be on the 2.2 Update tab. So you can launch the Small Business Edition or the Regional Analyst Edition right from the homepage. But you can also tab through. So for example, you can go to the Overview tab and learn how to basically use the app. There are different flyers that help you use different parts, different features of the apps, like how to upload your own file, how to use the filters feature in Census Business Builder, how to change geographies, or add your own geography. So there's different flyers, and I'll show you this. I'll go live and show you that. I'm in the overview section, and there's also recordings to earlier webinars that my colleagues have recorded. We also have a how section and a help and facts section that I would encourage you also to explore. So when you click on the Census Business Builder Small Business Edition link from the homepage of CBB, you'll be taken to this splash page for the Small Business Edition. So it's essentially as easy as it looks. You see two prompts. You see a 1 and you see a 2. You're essentially prompted to select what type of business you want to research. Now, you may want to select from one of the more commonly sought categories, which are construction, food services, healthcare, retail, professional and business services, or personal services. Or if none of these apply to you, you can type in some keywords to try to get a industry that is more applicable to you. So you definitely have to complete step 1 before you move over to step 2. So step 2 is where are you considering locating the business? So you can choose to click on the My Location feature, and that will geolocate where you are. And when it does that, it will identify it for you, all the nested locations that you are located in. So for example, I'm in Silver Spring, Maryland, but I'm also in Montgomery County, and I'm also in zip code 20910, and I'm also in the state of Maryland. So it will show all those layers of my location for me to select one. It will even identify the census tract I'm in, for those of you who are familiar with what a census tract means at the Census Bureau. So once I identify my location, this go to map and create a report go from being muted to being engaged. Now, if I didn't select my location, I could also just type in about 4 characters. So maybe I would type the SILV in Silver Spring, and it would start populating with geographies that are like those first 4 characters. And then my job would be to use the pull-down menu to select Silver Spring, Maryland. And once I'd completed that, I could then click Go to Map and create a report would then be engaged. So you can see what it looks like once you type a location. So in this example, I've typed Anne Arundel County, Maryland, and the map, the Go to Map feature is engaged, and so is the Create a Report feature. Now, Create a Report you can go to directly, and keep in mind, and I'll show you a screenshot of the report briefly. This is going to be a report about the demographics, housing, and business climate for your business based on the NAICS sector or the industry you selected. In this case, food services is our example. And this report belongs to you. So you're free to print a report. You're free to, there are no copyright issues. You're free to include it with your business loan application, within your business plan, etc. But a lot of people go to the report later and do a little bit more research on the Go to Map prompt first. So in this example, let's do that. So here you find yourself on the map page, and so initially you began your search clearing Anne Arundel County in this example, and you can see Anne Arundel County is your selection. You know that because the menu bar identifies it as your location up here, and it's also highlighted on the map. But that doesn't stop you from exploring or considering other locations you may not have initially considered. You're free to click about the map and change the data that are displayed accordingly. Just keep in mind that when you do that, your location as identified up here and as highlighted here will change accordingly. If I click on Montgomery County, that will be highlighted in that teal blue, and it will say Montgomery County, Maryland here instead of Anne Arundel. But for now, I'm still exploring Anne Arundel. You'll see that my data dashboard here shows me data for Anne Arundel County. It shows me the percentage 18 years and over. It shows me percentage over here on these additional measures, high school degree or higher, home ownership rate, etc. And it has some bar graphs with some time series data. And then the first bar graph is time series data. The second bar graph is geographic comparative data. So it's comparing 18 years and over in Anne Arundel County, Maryland, and the nation. And if I want to change, by the way, the key measure that's displayed in this data dashboard, all I have to do is click on the star. So if I clicked on this star for home ownership rate, it would then become the key measure that is featured here in this data dashboard. So again, very easy to use, fairly intuitive. You also have a geo menu. So, but let me actually complete what I wanted to tell you about the main menu bar. The main menu bar, in addition to having your location and having your industry, also prompts you to select a map variable and lets you select up to 3 filter variables. I'll talk about those a little later. You also have your geo menu bar. So that is telling you that we are querying currently at the geographic level of the count of counties. Everything displayed here are county level boundaries, administrative boundaries. If I wish to show cities and towns, so in other words, I don't just want to see the county level, I want to see Annapolis and Severna Park and Germantown and Montgomery County, etc., and Columbia and Howard County, I would need to click to the city town level. Sometimes those levels are disengaged. It's only because you have not zoomed in enough. So if I clicked zoom by clicking this plus sign, it would zoom in more. Okay, so that's how your geo menu basically works. You could back it up to your state level, you could zoom it in to your city town level, your zip code level, and then something we call the census tract level at the Census Bureau. Okay, so just to repeat a point I made in the earlier slide, that here's the zoom feature again. The zoom lets you zoom in and out and gives you more options. As you zoom in more, you can switch to more granular geographic levels. Also, here's your map legend. Both your data dashboard here and your map legend here are expandable and collapsible by clicking on these icons in the corner. So if they're somehow distracting you from exploring the map, you can collapse them at any time. You also have map tools, and this is your map tools icon, and right above it is your download icon. And right below it is your transparency icon. So how well you can see the map legend versus the base map, and reading whatever data are on the base map. That's essentially what your transparency allows you to do, is switch between the colors of the legend and how well you can see the base map. So as I mentioned when I first introduced you to the menu bar, once you get to the map view, you're going to be immediately prompted by the web tool to select a map variable. You get to select one map variable, okay? And the variables you get to select are myriad. They have primary categories and they have secondary categories. So the consumer tab has a primary category of customers, and then the secondary category of demographic, socioeconomic, and housing. My demographic radio button are things like percentage 18 and over, percentage under 5, percentage under 18. My socioeconomic characteristic radio button, still under customers, are things like education level, poverty rate, median household income. So that's your socioeconomic characteristic radio button. Maybe I'm a plumber or do some home services, so I might want to choose the housing characteristic radio button. The housing characteristic radio button is home ownership rate, median rent, median housing costs. So that's the housing radio button, still under customers. There's also a business button that lets you select a number of characteristics. You'll have a number of secondary categories related to businesses under the business tab. Now I just want to give you a caveat with the business tab. Businesses only works with state, county, and city place geography. Once you go to zip code or census tract data, the business tab will have a lot of strike-throughs on it, and that will indicate that the business data are no longer available at the zip code or lower geographic levels. You will also have a consumer spending tab. So that's that third-party commercial ESRI data that I mentioned to you, and that works at all geographic levels. And then you can also upload your own variables. That is your own file that you may have, whether it's another file in American Fact Finder, if you're familiar with census data, or another file from another agency, another federal agency perhaps. Now, there's a whole PDF about how to upload your own variables. It has to have the same geographic structure, and there's a lot of other just fine technical details you need to know. It's in the PDF, and I could certainly help you if that was something you wanted to explore in the future. So that's essentially your first prompt, selecting one map variable. So here we are in the Geo menu. You can see that under the first prompt, I chose the demographic radio button under customers, and I chose to map percentage 18 and over. In this particular screenshot, I've hidden both my data panel and my legend. And you can see on the Geo menu that zip codes is no longer faded, and that's because I've zoomed in enough for it to be engaged. So I'm viewing the data, percentage 18 year over at the zip code level of geography now. And in this example, I'm using the geography layers feature to show you other options that you can employ when you're using when you're in map view. So there are three different ways that you can add a new layer of geographies to your map. You can choose from the gallery. There is a preset gallery of different boundaries that include, as shown in the screenshot, legislative boundaries, urban boundaries, and native land boundaries, and a couple more options that are preloaded. And you can also upload a shapefile. I don't know if anyone out there is a GIS guru, but we have shapefiles on the census.gov website, for example. So the example I usually give is, let's say you were thinking of opening up a business in Anne Arundel County, and you also wanted to know which state senator served which parts of the county that you were thinking of opening up your business in, because you're not just concerned about the consumer market, but you wanted to get a sense of the regulatory climate and any kind of lobbying you might want to do, or any kind of contact you might want to have with your elected official, for example. You could then go to census.gov and download the shapefiles for the state Senate boundaries and upload them onto this map to include them as a reference. Now, data won't be in them the way every single one of these zip codes are not only files of zip code boundaries, but they give you data about the percentage 18 years and over. The example that I gave you, if you uploaded a shapefile with your Senate boundaries, state Senate boundaries, it would be reference only. It would be the boundaries of that state Senate district without having data, but you would at least be able to figure out which legislative district your proposed business might land in. So that's how it would work if you uploaded a shapefile. And you can also add a web service. And again, this is sort of GIS talk, but right now the add web service only supports Esri web service. So Esri is the platform that's currently powering the map that you see here. So that's the reference layers menu and how it could work for you if you wanted to take advantage of that. I just wanted to stop. Dr. Gwen, are you doing any Q&A, or should I just keep going?
I was wondering about that, but it's okay. Hopefully you're covering, I see you're covering information for people who are starting their businesses, and that's great. And hopefully we'll have something for those who already have their businesses, how to find their clients.
Certainly. And actually, everything that I'm showing you here is definitely applicable if whether you have a business already or you want to open up a business or open up another location. You can still certainly use this to help you identify, where your client should be, if you need to know where the highest median incomes are, highest education rates are, where there's, whatever your target market is, a higher percentage of women age 45 and over, for example. You could certainly still use our data to help you identify your sweet spot for key market segments.
Right. So specifically, as you mentioned, the age group, 18 and over, is a broad age group. So how would people find age groups that are, you know, maybe 35 to 45 or 50 to 65, or, you know, how would they be able to do that? Or
Definitely.
find the data from this graph, or there's another system?
There's another app for that, and
Okay.
So I'll run through this real quick, and then we'll jump on Census.gov, and I'll show you some other features and some other apps. So just to round this up, this app also has, and Dr. Gwen brought up a great point. This app has just a fraction of the data that we have available from the American Community Survey. So it has many of the commonly sought measures, but it's certainly not as robust as all that we offer. But if you want to start here and then explore elsewhere, that might be a good strategy. So here's the filters menu. Let me quickly just explain how the filter menu works. So whereas you only got to select one map variable, you get to select up to 3 filter options. So identify up to 3 criteria. In this particular example, I decided to filter for median household income. Now, the way the filter differs from the map variable is not only am I getting my data presented to me, but I get a slider presented to me. And the slider might have had a range of median household income from $30,000 to $120,000. And because I'm a small business owner and I have skin in the game, I decide what my criteria are. So I might say, well, I don't want to consider opening a business in any zip code that has a median household income of less than $105,000. So I would move the slider over to about $104,000. And what that does is it basically erases, or you can see in this particular screenshot, every single geography that is not at least 104,000 has disappeared from the map. And it tells me that I should no longer consider those locations based on my own filter selection. They just aren't wealthy enough for me to feel comfortable opening my business there, or in the case of already establishing a business, marketing to my customers in those locations. So I get to do that up to 2 more times. And as I add the second and third filter option and use the slider to show in which direction my priorities are, the geographies on my map will disappear when they do not match the criteria that I'm adding. So it may no longer be just median household income. The second criteria might be median household income and zip codes that have at least per capita spending of $800 a year eating out. That might be my second criteria. And the other zip codes that disappeared then get ruled out as possible prime locations. So that's essentially how the filters feature works. And again, to round this out, when you're done researching in map mode, so in other words, you selected your map variable, you maybe picked 2 or 3 filters. In addition to that, you can then revert to the geography that you started researching, or maybe select a new geography based on the research you've conducted. And when you have that up, the geography you want to land on, however you got there, you can then click on Create a Report. And this is what the report looks like. And again, as you saw at the very beginning when I was introducing you to this app, you can also just click on Create a Report on the splash screen where we started off before we went to map mode. You can see that the report has a table of contents with 3 sections: my potential customers, a business summary, and consumer spending, as well as a bottom section that has all the technical notes and citations for the data. You can see what each section looks like. So my potential customers are the demographic data, the socioeconomic, and the housing data. The business data are are measures that show you average employment per employer, average payroll per employee, really where the rubber meets the road when bankers want to know, have you done your research when you're asking for X number of dollars? And you could say, yes, I have, because I can expect to pay up I want about 5 members of my staff, and I can expect to pay them about $20,000 annually, and here's what I'm using to substantiate that claim. So you can print these out, but before you can print these out, you can hover over any of the bar graphs and mouse over, and they'll give you data points, so they're dynamic bar graphs, so you'll also have the ability to do that. And then at the very bottom is the consumer spending section, with all the different, up to 14 different consumer spending categories. There are a few features in the report, so you can turn margins of errors on or off. You can toggle them by clicking this box or leaving it unchecked, which is the default. You can use this little icon here to tell it to customize your report essentially. So let's say you don't need the My Potential Customers section, you only need the business summary. You can uncheck My Potential Customers so that when you go to the next icon, which is the download icon, it only downloads the business summary and not the stuff you don't need. So I'm going to actually stop there because the Regional Analyst Edition is probably more for Chambers of Commerce and Economic Development staff, and I'm going to actually take you for a moment on a quick tour of census.gov. So with that, I'm going to just launch if you want to give me a moment, the share screen again to get us onto a web browser. Okay, so here we are on census.gov, so let's start there. I just want to show you how to get to Census Business Builder, the app that I've been featuring so far. So here's data tools and apps, and it's the second item just on the screenshot. And then here's where you launch them from. Here's the video, the introductory video. Here's the overview tab that I mentioned that has, these are basic introductory flyers of how the app works and what it features, and here's some archived webinars, but also the how-tos that I mentioned are here. So let's say you get stuck on the filters feature that I mentioned to you. You can download this flyer and it'll give you a step-by-step instructions, screenshot instructions on how to use the filters feature that I introduced you to. Or you want to use the enhanced mapping instructions that I mentioned to you, you could download this PDF and get the step-by-step mapping instructions for the app. So what's really great about CVB is it's fairly intuitive to use, but it also, within the landing page, everything you need to know about the app is self-contained all on the landing page. I mean, you can also, of course, always get some support from the Census Bureau as well. There's an email address here at the bottom, and I'll make sure you have my contact information as well. So back to the main data screen. So Dr. Gwen asked about, you know, all the other segments of the population. So there's a couple of other apps out there that might be useful for you. So if you go to Data Tools and Apps, Quick Facts is fairly easy to use, and it could give you some more demographic detail. So let's say you wanted to compare, when you go to Quick Facts, by the way, you get up to 6 geographies you can place in here, and the default one is the nation, so you can see the United States right there. Let's say I wanted to compare Severna Park in Anne Arundel County. Usually how this works is you type a few characters and it populates, but it seems to be a little glitchy. Sometimes I reload and that rectifies things. Let's see if that does it. It wasn't working a moment ago, so okay, let's try and so Quick Facts is a little glitchy, so let me get to another really great app called American Fact Finder. To go to Fact Finder, actually Fact Finder is the most robust web tool we have on the website, and I usually teach an advanced search. So I'm going to click Show Me All. So Dr. Gwen, do you want to give me an example of a population you might be seeking and you need to find, and I can do a search for that, show you how to get that data?
Let's say business owners that are looking to get their profits increased. That's kind of hard. You know, they want to increase their profits and they need a coach to help them to do that.
Okay, so what would they be looking for in the demographic or housing categories? Would they be looking for, you know, women age 45 and over, median incomes, you know?
Yes, I got you. So these are these consumers or business owners?
Consumers.
Okay. So I guess let's say they're consumers between the ages of 35 and 55, and they have an income of about, excuse me, an income of $110,000 a year. Is there anything else you need?
No, that'll get me started.
I'm just making stuff up.
Okay. So I would recommend to do that kind of search that we go with a census tract. So census tracts, I've been mentioning them without really defining them for the audience, are geographies that are contained within counties. They never overlap counties the way zip codes do. And they're based on population thresholds of about 5,000 to 7,000 persons. So we can select census tracts and then by whichever county we might be researching. So I could go to Anne Arundel County and do all census tracts within Anne Arundel County. And I certainly don't have to stop there. If I also happen to serve Howard County, I might throw in Howard County and maybe Prince George's County, some neighboring counties, in other words. And so once I have that, I can start getting those measures that we talked about. So if I want a certain age group, I can go to topics and I can open up the age and sex menu option and click on age. And when I do that, I get a lot of tables, 1,588 to be exact. So I also am interested in something that has age by income level, so I might just start perusing these titles until I see something that is age by income levels. And there's sometimes cross-tabulation that works for that, but not always. So I see things like age by nativity, population under 18, grandparent caregiver. So there's quite a bit out there. Employment status of grandparents. We're now running across the fertility data set. So there's quite a few out there. Age by languages spoken at home, poverty status. So I might be in the ballpark with poverty status because maybe income might come next. What disability comes next? Health insurance comes after that. So there may not be one that cross-tabulates age by median income, so I have to do them separately, which is fine as well. So I might just start off with this age and sex table, S0101. And you can see that this has a lot of different age brackets, and maybe I'm interested in, so I have to stick with the predefined age bracket. So maybe I want to start with the 40 to 44. And I can tell it, I'm going to click on this 9.5% for Census Tract 7011 in Anne Arundel County. And it'll tell me to give me a prompt to show the map. And my data are here. I just have to zoom in. You can see the speck on the map. So that shows you that my data have loaded. I just have to zoom in to the locations that I queried. So you can see that I have a lot of segmented data for the 3 counties that I threw in. And the percentage of 40 to 44-year-olds varies greatly across my map. And you can see from my legend here on the upper right-hand corner that it varies from a low of less than 1%, 0.3, to a high of 22.7%. So let's say that I really want to only consider those locations that have at least 8% or higher age 40 to 44 in them. So what I could do is use this wrench to do something called create user-defined intervals. I could switch to 2 intervals, and I could do as one of my classes 7.9%, my other is 8%, and up 8% up to 22.7, and then I can hit go, and now my map is only showing me those census tracts in these 3 counties with at least 8% of the population age 40 to 44 years of age. So if that's my target age group, now I know, and this is my geographic area, now I know when I'm sending out marketing material, or when I'm canvassing, or however it is I'm getting my message out, or considering opening up a new location, these are the locations that I should consider. Now, yes.
Can I interrupt you a little?
Please.
For the numbers 1 and 2 in that little chart on the right-hand side, I don't think I'm clear. There's 0.3 in the first column and 7.9 in the other, and then 8 and 22.7. Can you clarify that a little bit more for me, please?
Sure. So going back to the data classes, when we were on the default natural breaks, when we had natural breaks, we had 5 categories. And the 5 categories, if we go back to our legend, ranged from the lowest, 0.3 to 4.8, to the highest, 10.4 to 22.7. So the entire range was 0.3 to 22.7.
Yeah, I got that.
So I just told it that I wanted only 2 categories, not 5.
Mm-hmm.
So I went over and changed it from natural breaks to user-defined. And then I switched it from 5 categories, the default, to 2.
Okay.
So that whole range carried over, the 0.3 to 22.7.
Right. Uh-huh.
But I told it I only wanted to see 2 colors where there's 7.9 or fewer percentage of 40 to 44 and 8.0 to 22.7 of that age bracket.
Got you.
Yeah, so that's how, so one of the drawbacks of this particular tool is that you can only map 1 indicator at a time. So maybe once you have this mapped for you, you download it, and you can download it as a PDF or a JPEG image. And then you might do a subsequent search if you go back to your table view, and using those same geographies, you might then go back and remove age and uncheck age and sex and go back to topics, expand people, and do income and earnings. And then you could then map income and earnings by the household, and you could map median household income. And S1901 would certainly do it, income in the past 12 months, but you want median, so you're probably better off going to actually median S1903. So S1903 is median income in the past 12 months. And you could that it's there. For example, for 7011.01 in Anne Arundel County, it's almost 120,000. You can create a map that 120,000. And you can do the same thing we did with the age 40 to 44. You have data classes with quite a bit of variance. You have median income as low as almost 20,000 a year in 5 data classes, and median income as high as 196,000 a year. And Dr. Gwen, you said the sweet spot was at least 110,000, right?
100,000.
100,000. Okay, so we could do the same thing we did. We can change the number of classes to 2. We can go to user defined, and we can tell it, well, I only need to see those households that have 100,000 or more median household income. And there you have it. Basically, all the wealth is in Howard County, big parts of Prince George's County and Anne Arundel County, as well as southern Prince George's County. And again, so you would overlay this with your other map with your 40 to 44-year-olds or whatever age bracket that you had, and then you could then identify, what you essentially deemed your sweet spot, the age, income, trifecta, or that you're looking for. If you threw in another element to make it your trifecta, maybe median home price or whatever other criteria you sought.
So when you say overlay, are you talking about overlaying it actually on the physical website?
No, unfortunately, that is a deficiency of this app. You can only map one indicator at a time.
Okay.
So you would have to do this one at a time and download them and then try to get a picture that emerges that way.
Okay.
For those of you,
it would be nice to have had like an age to income thing. I guess that's what you were saying.
Yeah, I was looking for a crosstab that included them both, and it may be I didn't scroll long enough, but I didn't see one automatically.
Okay.
And those of you who want to venture into, using GIS apps, there are ways that you can download these files using the download icon and download both the data and the shape files, the actual shapes of these boundaries, and put them into a third-party software like Tableau. And a Tableau, a third-party software, will let you map multiple layers and let you add filters and do all these other things that we currently do not support in American Fact Finder.
And how are you spelling Tableau?
Tableau.
Okay, got you.
So Tableau definitely has a public version, and the public version is free. So you can, if you're hardy enough to want to learn it, you can start with the public before you decide if you want to commit to, paying for the software. The only caveat with using Tableau public is everything you share, everything that you create is public. It goes on to the Tableau public website. So I wouldn't, upload anything that's your personal finance data or anything like that. But if you're playing around with, publicly available data anyway, you may not mind initially, especially since it's free.
Right. Okay.
So, so that's essentially how, American Fact Finder definitely has a, longer learning curve than Census Business Builder or Quick Facts. But I do offer, for those of you who are local, I do offer free data trainings, free workshops, and would be happy to work with Dr. Glenn if there was such a demand for an event locally for Census Business Builder, for Quick Facts, and really, more importantly, if you're interested, for American Fact Finder. So this is not acting up anymore. I was hoping it would rectify eventually. So Quick Facts is a really good Again, only selectors, just like it's not as robust as American Fact Finder, which I just showed you, which has all our data in one place. But these other apps that I've been talking about this afternoon, I want to make you aware of, because although they're not as robust in terms of all the data we have available, they're much easier to use. So Quick Facts, for example, you can add up to 6 different geographies and compare them. So let's say you wanted to compare median income across Anne Arundel County cities. You could select it. You can use this pull-down menu to select a fact, and you can go to scroll through these categories until you get to income and poverty, and select median household income as your fact. The minute you do that, it gets locked in right over here, so you can see that. And I've chosen.
You can't see your categories when you click on that. It's a black square.
Oh, I'm sorry. You know what? I should have done a new share.
Oh, don't worry about it. I think we got it though.
But can you see it now?
We can see your screen, but when you click on select a fact, we can't see what the selections are.
Oh, got it. Okay. So basically the fact is, and let me get it back to where it was.
That's all black. We can't see that drop down menu.
Oh, you can't see the drop down menu. Interesting.
Yeah. So
okay. So I've chosen, if you look at my screen, median household income, you see it right there?
Yes.
So I chose median household income, and you can see in Severna Park it's about 125,000, which is much higher than the national median income of about 54,000. So maybe I want to compare Severna Park with Maryland and with also with Anne Arundel County to see if this town is wealthier than both the state and the county that it belongs to, because it's clearly much wealthier than the nation as a whole. And you can see that median household income in Anne Arundel is about 90,000. It's about 75 in Maryland. So Severna Park is much, much wealthier than both the nation, the state, and the county. So maybe I want to take it a step further. Well, Severna Park is wealthy as other towns in Anne Arundel County. So okay. I could switch over to map view, and I can tell it to map Severna Park, Maryland, median household income. So my map switches over, and you can see in my header that that is what is being mapped. And I have to zoom in a bit to get to Anne Arundel County, but I can see Severna Park is featured by the circle, and there's 125,000. And I can just go over Lake Shore is about 94,000, Arnold's about 107,000, it's about 90,000 Cape St. Clair, 72 in Annapolis, and so on. So now I can just skip around and compare by hovering over all the little dots. So it's very easy to do, in other words, and very, much more intuitive and easy to learn than American Fact Finder is. I could change the measure that I wish to have featured on the map very easily as well. Let's say I wanted persons age 65 and over. That's actually not a good example because they won't have that data. Maybe I serve the veterans population, for example. So I want the percentage of veterans across these towns. So now as I hover, I have to zoom in again to get back to my county. But now as I hover, I'm now told what the estimated number of veterans in these communities are. And if I'm not sure what's being displayed, I could just look at the header where it says veterans so that I'm sure what's being displayed is what I intended.
So now we can assume that some people get how to use this data. What would be a general use of this information? Can you just spell that out for the audience? Sure.
So this is basically to help me identify my target audience. So if I'm opening up an assisted living facility and I need to know, then I need to know where there's higher percentages or higher estimated numbers of persons age 65 and over. If I'm opening up a play station area for kids, then I need to know how many children there are under age 8 or under age 12, whatever my criteria are. And this will help me identify where the concentrations are highest depending on who my target market is.
Right. Or if you also have a product that is geared towards people who have a certain level of income, you could like target maybe Severna Park. Maybe they would be able to afford a more expensive product than somewhere else.
Yes, exactly. So for median income, if I'm looking to open up a yoga studio, I might look for higher median income, higher median home ownership costs, or maybe higher home ownership rate. So whatever it is that really defines for you what your key customers might be and what attributes they may have, you could identify those attributes with our data if we are in fact collecting that particular measure, and then you could map the prevalence of it using our mapping applications.
Yes. So what about the tendency to like their spending habits? Where are they likely to spend their money? Can this be available on this map?
Not on this map, but that consumer spending data is on actually the app I started off telling you about, the Census Business Builder.
Mm-hmm.
So it's over now. It was acting glitchy a moment ago. Let's see if it's rectified.
Right.
Let's say I wanted to open up a restaurant, and a full service restaurant in Severna Park. So it's acting up still, unfortunately. But if I were able to show you the variables, which I can't right now, one of the map variables would be consumer spending. So you would be able to get the consumer spending data from this particular application.
And then for those who are creating a business plan, they could use that data to see whether or not the product or service they are wanting to open in a particular area is likely to be bought.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And what's great about our consumer spending data is it's not just consumer spending annually. It's consumer spending on alcohol and on home repairs. It's all these different categories, and one of them will be relevant to your business.
Excellent.
So
that right there, I think, is just the most valuable information for any business owner at all. Yeah.
And we're certainly here to help make it more accessible to you. So please reach out if there's any way that I can continue to support you and everyone on the phone who may or on the line who may want to who may have questions after participating in this webinar. Let me just quickly leave you with my contact information as a final thought.
Okay, great.
Okay, so thank you so much for the opportunity.
Awesome. Nesreen Kashan, we are very delighted to have you join us today and to share this bit of information. I know there's quite a bit of exploration for people to do since the system was a little glitchy before we started, and luckily you had those slides that were able to redeem the day. But definitely I'll stay in touch because I have a few live presentations that I'd love for you to show up at. And for those people who are watching this, thank you very much for joining us, and feel free to reach out to Nesreen if you have any questions or any comments of any sort that you feel that can be addressed. And I wish you the most success as you build your business, because building a business is not a small feat, but having the data to help you to build that business is one of the most precious things you can, very vital to the success of your business. So I really thank Nesreen for coming and sharing all of this information, and I thank you all for joining us, and you have the most amazing day.